Chapter 1.3 Goodbye, Earth. She hopped onto her bike, put her key in the ignition, and revved the engine. Black smoke pumped out the exhaust, and she sped into the fog to intercept the pilot. The situation was changing fast. For one, she'd never seen him with a dog, let alone a guard dog that could rip flesh to shreds. Second, he wasn't the bumbling drunk he looked like through her binoculars. She thought she found an easy target, but he didn't even flinch at her assailant. Third, his lack of history was now worrisome. Rita assumed he was too small time, but an amateur wouldn't be so killer cool. She'd have to adapt. By the time she reached the starport, the pilot was already schmoozing the guards. He slipped them cash to look the other way, like every night. But unlike every other night, he kept talking with them. The guards invited him into their post, offered him coffee, and the pilot obliged. He never did that before. Of all nights, this was not the night Retta wanted change. She left her bike behind, scrambled to improvise, and crouched low, hoping the fog provided sufficient cover. The only thing that stood between her and the guard's view was a chain-link fence. But to her surprise, the pilot became her aide. The guards were distracted by conversation. The windows fogged from the coffee's hot steam and their body heat. They left the gate open, and Retta seized the opportunity. She skirted in, and her dreams became reality. She imagined this moment night after night, being mere feet away from a starship, a technological marvel. In her dreams, the ship she imagined was a sleek, shining metal spacecraft with rounded curves, sharp edges, and a polished reflection she could see her face in. This ship wasn't that. It was a boxy, tarnished, brown metal hauler with two massive turbine engines. Its cargo space could fit a white whale. She pressed her hand to the heavy metal, felt its cold touch, and soot smeared across her hand. Was it disgusting? Yes. Was it what she imagined? No. But was it a dream come true? Absolutely. The ship was unguarded, and the keypad to the hull was at her fingertips. She repeated the sequence of keystrokes she watched the pilot input night after night. 9, 4, 3, 1. But a red X flashed on the screen. Am I putting it in too slowly? 9, 4, 3, 1. Another red X flashed on the screen. I'm sure this is it. 9, 4, 3, 1. X. 9, 4, 3, 1. X. Retta pulled out her recording of the pilot, and sure enough, he put in 9431. Did he change it? Time was not on her side. Her failed attempts only cut further into her tight schedule. The guards' conversation simmered down. Their laughter faded away. The coffee break came to an end. The guards returned to work, and the pilot would be at his ship in any moment. Retta started to sweat. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. She rushed to improvise. Did Rashada pack it? Retta rummaged through her bag. Ah, it's here. She pulled out a blacklight and ran it over the keypad. Ghostly fingerprints illuminated. 1131. With a few taps, it unlocked. Retta twisted back. The pilot was still far enough away. The hatch slid open, Red slid inside, and the door shut behind her. The cargo bay was pitch black. She flicked her link into her palm and used it as a flashlight. Rows upon rows of boxes lay in front of her, and she needed a place to hide. She moved through, looking for hideaways, when she noticed a glint of light from up above. Retta looked and saw her light reflect off a glass lens with a white light circle around it. Uh-oh, she whispered, killing her light. Hovercams. Their propulsion systems whirred. Red lights encircled their singular eye-like lens. They scanned the area, and Retta ducked behind a cargo container. The hovercam was coming, scanning with red lasers, only inches away. She held her breath, but heard something outside. Keypad beeps. The hull door unlocked, slid open, and the pilot stepped inside. He flicked a switch, and the room flooded with light. The hovercam's lasers were drowned out, and Retta was exposed. She scurried, quick as a cockroach caught in the light, and darted to the next hideaway. Her heart beat out her chest. Her blood rushed to her head. Adrenaline coursed through her veins, and instinct took control. Had luck and another container not been at her side, her dream would have become a nightmare. Retta stopped moving. She stopped breathing. She was so scared that if even a sweat drop hit the ground, he'd hear her. The pilot entered with heavy footsteps, and paws pitter-pattered beside him. The pilot kept walking, but the paw steps stopped. Retta peeked around the bend and saw the dog sniffing the air. "What's up, girl?" Retta froze. Does she know? Does she sense me? Retta flicked her link into her hand and used the camera to watch. The man crouched down beside his dog as she sniffed the floor. She moved closer and closer, following the obvious scent of an intruder. "Smell something?" Retta needed to think fast. She ran her hands through Rashada's bag, grabbed a wrapped star tart, and opened it. She slid it away from her, across the bay, and caught Alpha's attention. The dog tracked the tart, ran to the dessert, and snatched it in her jaw before the pilot realized what happened. "Hey, what the hell are you eating?" The pilot grabbed the dog's snout. He tried yanking her mouth open, but she growled back. "What kind of scraps did you get?" He pried her jaw open. "Ugh, stop eating that trash. How'd that even get here?" He looked around, curious, but still a touch drunk and unconcerned. "Come on, let's get you something." They left the cargo bay through a sliding door at the opposite end. Retta waited a few moments and listened until her footsteps faded away. She still had the hovercam to deal with. Retta pulled a makeshift, plastic-printed pistol from her bag. She opened the chamber and loaded 2 homemade surge shots. Each slug was loaded with pure electricity, prepared to fry circuit board on impact. Holding the gun brought back memories. She remembered practicing with her dad. He lined up cans in back alleys and had her and her brother Felix shoot, though it was mostly red. Felix always worried he'd hit a stray cat. The memory made her smile, and Retta was ready. She peeked around the corner, but the hovercam was gone. It moved. She twisted back and saw a camera patrolling the hall. It turned towards her and caught her square in its sight. Retta rushed to aim. She swung the pistol forward, pulled the trigger, and her shot skimmed the hovercam's edge. The surge shot hit the back wall with a blindingly bright surge of electricity. The camera's iris glowed red. It sped towards Retta, and she steadied herself. "Don't rush." She took a breath. "Steady." It closed in like a hornet, and Retta pulled the trigger. The round shot out, cracked the hovercam's glass, and electrified it from the inside out. It dropped to the ground in a dark cloud of smoke, accompanied by the burnt smell of fried circuitry. She heard a second hovercam coming. If I no rash, she thought, and reached into her bag as the second cam came. It turned the corner. Retta threw her bag at it, and it wrapped around the camera's lens. It shook it off, and directly in its crosshairs was Retta, with her pistol loaded with another shot. He always packs extra shots. She fired, and the final surge shot split the camera in two. It fell to the ground in pieces, blinking with a red alert light until it faded away. I gotta move. The pilot's gonna come here, she thought. She wasn't going to be cornered. Retta ventured forward, going deeper into the ship. She'd find a hideaway before he found her.